Start now. Yes.
Well, hello, Judith. How you doing this week? I'm Karen,
Hi,
and I'm
Karen.
glad you rescheduled an appointment with me.
Good. Thanks for seeing you again, Karen. I'm glad that we're able to see each other again for a second time.
So, how do you feel this week?
This week I'm feeling a little bit better. I did take you at when we talked last time, I did some thinking about, separating who I get my grief counseling from versus my relationships with my friends, going after hours and meeting up with them. So I have been doing some thinking about that to see how I can do it. And I'm looking for someone that I can deal the grief counseling with.
Okay, so you haven't had the attempt to go out with your friends or been sad that you needed to talk to them about the passing of your mom?
I have to admit that I did go out with them.
Okay.
And it was, but I did not overstay my time this time. I left about 7 o'clock.
What about the drinking?
I did have just
Okay.
two drinks. And we just talked about a lot of other things, but we did kind of venture off on my mom as well. So
Okay.
I can kind of see it weaning down because I didn't go every day this week. I only went 3 days this week.
Okay.
And, I tried to be more mindful of the amount of drinks that I was having.
Okay. And you were able to go to work on time?
I did. I did make it to work on time.
Okay.
But things at home is still a little sticky, touch and go. Uh, a couple of times I did bring dinner home because I knew I didn't have time to cook. And it seemed like my husband was a little bit more cooperative, although, he's been used to home cooked meals. Um, and I had just gotten away from that. So, but, people change and it's just a lot going on. And I mean, the effort is there and he's just going to have to, be patient with me the way I see
it. Did you talk to him about that?
Well, no, I didn't say anything to him about it. I was, I just left the food on the stove and I, went and got ready for bed so that I could get to work on time the next day. I'm doing the best I can in terms of, trying to make these adjustments and trying to deal with the loss of my mother. And, people don't really understand your plight. Is what they want. And right now I'm hurting.
Right. But do you think that you should include your husband into your pain and let him know? Because like you said, he don't know. He has no idea if you don't tell him how he feels. Because you said before it was your mother, not his. So he has no idea, or he cannot comprehend his mother not being here. Mm. So don't you feel that, or do you think you should tell him, I wake up every day and this is how I feel? So that way he won't have an attitude because he can relate and think, oh, this must be one of those days.
I mean, that's a possibility, then in actuality, then it's going to have to be us having to talk to each other. So that's more counseling if you think about it, how it's a lot. It's just a lot, when you think about I'm trying to get over the fact of losing my mom. I'm trying to keep my job. I'm trying to monitor my drinking. Now I got to figure out how I can relate to him. It's like, this is too much. It's a lot,
Well, no, maybe he has to relate to you, but he needs to know what he's relating to. So if you open the door for him to relate to you, then it will be up to him not to have attitudes and say, oh, you didn't cook today or you're going to be late for work. He'll step back a little bit and maybe, because things have changed, like you said, maybe he might step forward and say, I've been with her over 30 years. She lost her mom. This is not something she usually does. Let me cook today or let me wash today. Let me step in. But he won't ever know that unless you tell him. That's how you feel. Because no one knows your pain and your grief.
Mm-hmm.
No one can tell you how you should feel about your losing your mom.
Yeah.
No one.
For sure.
And drinking, if drinking is going to the left, you want to go to the right. Mm-hmm. Now, occasionally, two drinks, maybe two drinks, talking and going home, taking care of your responsibilities, getting up and go to work. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be a problem, and you wouldn't have to at least talk to me. But talking with a bereavement person will help you with that drinking more too.
You think
because
so? Okay.
you're using that as a crutch, which is understandable. Once again, because it's not every day people lose their parents.
Right.
If you've been with your parent, your mother, it's not every day. Mm-hmm. But it has to be something that you can do. And I'm glad you said that this week was a little better.
It was.
Than it was.
I think so.
And that's a start. Yeah. That's a start.
Right.
You can keep moving in that direction.
For sure. And I did mention to my co-workers that I probably would cut back some and not go, maybe one day out of the week. We'll just, maybe 2 days, because they have happy hour every day after work. And it's a nice little place that we go to, and the food is really great. And I guess the environment and everything is just really nice. So, but I don't have to go every day. I'm really realizing that I do need to alter some of my activities, and because I don't want to just throw everything away just because, I'm going through this time in my life right now and I wind up losing everything. I don't want to do that. Right. But, and it's not something that I hadn't done before. It's just that, it's really hard when you lose a parent. It really is.
Yes, it is. It's a hard situation. And you don't know what to do, how to feel. Mm-hmm. Some days you may be fine, and some days you may just want to cry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we don't want you to go into depression.
Right. Right.
Or use drinking to absorb your sadness. Mm-hmm. We don't want you to do that. We want you to talk about it, get your feelings out. Mm-hmm. If you have a social drink, that's fine. But anything that you do that causes you to interrupt your personal life, your work life, everything that you need to do to get by. Right. Drinking starts being a part of that. Mm-hmm. And you can't make it. That's when it's really, really a problem. Mm-hmm. And you've been on your job. How long?
Yeah, 25 years now. So,
right.
I can appreciate them being understanding and patient and offering this as assistance for me. And so I have to take that into consideration and recognize that, I may not see what's going on, but there are other people that do care about me. And maybe I could consider a little bit more with my husband and not be so one-sided with him, to give him an opportunity also.
Yes, to understand what's going on with you. Mm-hmm. That's all he needs to know, what's going on with you. If you just want to be withdrawn, that's up to you. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But you don't want to hug a bottle. Yeah. Go and hug a bottle and then can't go to work, because it'll make your situation worse. Mm-hmm. Don't you feel that way?
I do. So there is some changes that I can still make, and I'm open and willing to do that. I just, need to find someone else that I could get some bereavement counseling with or talk to about that. And maybe I'll start with my husband, because he does have, we still go to church and everything.
Okay.
And so he sits on the deacon board, and maybe he can,
Well, I'm sure, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure they would have a bereavement counsel or ministry. Yeah.
I have kind of just fallen away from the church, because it was like, I guess I was angry.
Right. Which is natural. Those are all natural reactions. Mm-hmm. Being angry at God. Why did you let this happen to me? Why do I have to suffer? Mm-hmm. But because you said you only went out about 3 times, how did you feel? How does your body feel? How does your mind feel not being drunk like that and oversleeping for work? How did your attitude change, make you feel?
That's a good question because it's like I still thought a lot about my mom. So, that was really present. And it was heavy still getting up in the mornings, even though, I didn't have as many drinks as I'd had in the past. It still was difficult getting up and, pushing myself to get dressed and take the drive and go. But once I got to work, I really enjoy my job. And
well, that makes it better.
Yeah, and I'm busy. It's good work and it's busy work, so it keeps me occupied. And I enjoy my coworkers because we work so well together as a team that, I've really grown to rely heavily on them.
Okay.
And so that's what makes it so easy for me to make the transition after work to be with them. But they're very understanding and they realize that, it had been impacting my performance on the job. And so they've been very understanding about saying, yeah, once or twice a week is good enough, but they're concerned about me. And they, and they let it be known that they're concerned about me. And so that's why they just never pushed me away when I wanted to, go every night because they're single. I'm not, a couple of them are single and, a couple of them are married and their husband's just okay with it. So, you got that too.
Right.
But overall, I think they care and they understand that the impact is having on my family. And
are they late for work though? They're not late for work though, too, right? So that might make a difference too.
Well, no, they get there. I think that we just some people can just hold their liquor better, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know if they'd be drinking like I have been drinking lately.
Oh, right.
Because I'm not watching their drinks. I'm, and so I really wasn't watching my own. I just was indulging and, but this past week, I've been very more mindful of looking at how many drinks I actually order.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a difference.
Yeah.
When you leave the bar, you should feel different.
Yeah, I did.
Because being intoxicated is a different feeling.
It is, but it just numbs me. It just really had me to a point where I was just numb, really, and I didn't really feel the ache in my heart.
Okay.
Or think about what I would be doing, going by seeing my mom to make sure she got what she needed done, and so it fills that gap,
Right. I see. And it's basically the drinking is you need a gap to fill.
A gap filler.
The void.
Right.
Void.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what, so when I get home at night, I had the 2 drinks and that was fine. I didn't even pick up another drink. I just took a hot bath, and I listened to some music and, and that helped me to really calm down and go to sleep. And so I was able to sleep. I just don't sleep all through the night.
Okay.
And
that's something you need to work on. Yes.
And so with me waking up constantly in the wee hours of the night, then when I wake up in the morning, I'm tired.
Right.
And then my heart is heavy, and then and so it's like starting it all over again. And so yeah. So I realize it's grief. I realize that it is grief, and I do have to actually deal with that.
And I really feel that if you deal with the grief with a cancer, that it'll take care of that drinking. Because you're aware of what's going on. You're aware of what you need to do. You're aware of how it makes you feel. And and you admit, that's the first step too. That's part of the steps of recovery. You admit to it. Yeah. You know what the problem is. Yeah. You seem to try to focus on how to solve it. So that takes a lot of courage to say, well, I'm going to do this. And a lot of strength to only go those few days and only have those 2 drinks.
Yeah, that would be my minimum. That would be my minimum, 2 drinks.